don't
thoughts.
give a flying fuck into a rolling donut about what Al Pacino thinks.
What's your favorite scary movie? Swallow this.
Well, John, it is always good to see you, but we're actually here on a little more of a somber note. You and me are big fans, and we want to kind of share a little bit of love for Mr. William Friedkin, who had just passed.
Yeah, 87 years old. So
It's a good life.
Yeah, it was a good life. I've actually known through people that I know in the industry that he's been sick for a bit. That his health was
okay.
declining, so I'm not too surprised by the news. William Friedkin, in my useless opinion, will be around for a very long time because his legacy, the films that he leaves behind, or even his subpar films were superior to the norm. I mean, The Exorcist, probably one of the best horror movies of all time, if not one of the best movies of all time. I know, as you know, it's one of my favorites. French Connection. What do you think when I say French Connection?
What comes to my mind is
right away, boom.
I would say Gene Hackman speeding under the L train or shooting what's his face in the back of the stairs.
Yeah, car chase. One of the best car chases ever put to film, in my opinion. One that he actually tried to replicate in a very uneven subpar film called Jade with David Caruso, which Friedkin also directed. And it was written by Joe Hesteros, who did Basic Instinct. That's, the one thing I remember from Jade, that in the poster, is the car chase. What a car chase. And the list goes on. I mean, Sorcerer, which is a remake of Wages of Fear, one of my favorite movies of all time. It didn't make much money upon its release, but it became like a cult classic. And I personally think it's better than Wages of Fear, but I know some people might disagree with me.
I never saw the original, but I love Sorcerer. Roy Scheider is the man.
Yeah.
I think they actually came with a really good restoration somewhat recently, because I've been thinking about revisiting that, actually. I seen it a lot as a kid.
What else? Rampage, a serial killer movie with Michael Biehn, which got in a lot of heat with the MPAA at the time, which explains his fairly limited release. It got a limited release theatrically. I saw it on the big screen, actually. And even now, it's not even on Blu-ray, I don't think.
No. Well, we've talked about it prior videos, but it's worth mentioning here. It's one of my favorite movies. It's to me, at least as a kid, it scarred me a lot more than The Exorcist did.
Really?
I told you, like, the first nightmare I ever had was this movie, because I watched it like 7. Like, The Exorcist is scary, but this movie starts with the guy knocking on somebody's door and shooting everybody and murdering the kids. And as a little kid, I was like, that fucking scares me. Like, demons, okay, well, as long as I don't mess around, but like, you're hanging out, some guy just decides randomly to kill your whole family. It still got me, man. Michael Biehn, of course. And then I realized a while ago about the 2 different versions. And I think one of them is online somewhere you could find it. I'd be very curious to maybe you can discuss it, since you actually have history with it, because I grew up with nobody knowing what Rampage was.
It's not a widely known film. I'll always remember that opening, the killer having a red jacket like Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, or it might be a little wink to Don't Look Now. What else if we can do? One of my personal, I don't like the term guilty pleasure, because if I derive pleasure out of something, why the fuck should I feel guilty?
I don't use it, so.
But The Guardian, which is basically the hand that rocks the cradle mixed in with supernatural elements and a lot of little winks to Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Tree, the guy with the chainsaw.
That's fun.
Yeah,
we should
tackle that one soon.
I'd love to. And it was one of those I saw as a kid, and then I revisited, a few years back, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love this. And if people think that's a bad film by him, then I think he's an amazing director, because that's a good movie. It's weird. It's strange. It's like a melodrama, spiritual tree spirit murder.
Druids and baby sacrifice, and
it's cool. But that's why I like Friedkin, because I think he was super eclectic in his filmography. But everything he did, he, like I always say, he showed up for work. And so I love The Garden. We should absolutely talk about it.
Yeah, we'll do it. How about have you seen Friedkin's The Hunted? With
not since it came out with Benicio del Toro and what's his
Tommy
face?
Lee Jones.
Yes, because he makes the knife in the fire. I remember that being a big deal to me because that was a cool little Rambo scene there. It's been a while, man. I'd like to revisit, but this is a good chance for me to revisit and sort of get into his filmography a little bit more because I haven't seen Blue Chips or The Hunted since they came out. I was always a really big fan of Bug. You know, I like that kind of weird stuff. Killer Joe,
not a fun movie though, that's for sure.
Shannon and what's her face? Fucking
Judd.
Ashley Judd rocked it out. Real depressing. Just he's good at that though. Killer Joe's the same way. Like just an intense walls closing kind of movie, and one of, let's be honest, McConaughey's Renaissance films.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's one thing just through talking with you right now, there's one pattern I'm recognizing by Friedkin's movies is that all of them has something you'll remember. So Exorcist, the head spinning, the pea soup, French Connection, the car chase, the Guardian, the tree and
the tree scene
and the blood, and it was very gory. Killer Joe, the blowjob chicken
scene,
yeah, it was pretty pretty disturbing. The Hunted, the knife fight, which was incredible, the knife fight between Tony and Benicio del Toro, and obviously they're stunt doubles, I'm assuming. So every movie has something that pops and that stays with you, and that's a sign of one hell of a filmmaker, man, that doesn't leave you indifferent, that leaves you with something, even if you don't like Exorcist or French Connection, or although if you don't like those, you're a weird fuck, but that's my opinion. You'll still leave with something.
I agree. And can we give credit to the man, because he was forever grumpy, and I'll always love him. I don't know if you've been doing this, but because he passed today, I've been looking at all these interview clips of him just being a complete asshole, and I'm laughing, dude. Okay, there's one. What's actually a little snippet I was reading. There's some interview where somebody's mentioning, Oliver Stone says DVDs only last 10 years. And it's like, how the fuck does he know? And he's like, well, because of Alexander. He goes, fuck him and Alexander. He's just grumpy and angry. And I'm like, this guy's like my favorite person.
Top of your head, your top 3 Friedkin movies.
That's tough because they're eclectic. So that's tough, man. I'm not a list guy, but how about this? I would say in no particular order, because I think these 3 are the ones that I've revisited most, would be Rampage, The Exorcist, and Sorcerer. Though I put Killer Joe and Bug very close because those movies affected me.
Oh, we're close. Sorcerer, Exorcist, and The French Connection, which I watched it recently, actually, and it still holds up. Politically incorrect, doesn't give a fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Cool stunts. I'm sure people almost got whacked doing the stunts in this fucking movie. But of course, the list can go on. No Cruising, by the way.
I've never seen Cruising.
You've never seen Cruising?
No.
There's
Al
Pacino.
Yeah, it's been coming up a lot lately. I don't know if they just released a version or what happened.
I think they re-released it recently.
I've seen it in a lot of things on the net.
It's a movie. It's an interesting movie. For me, like I said before, there's always something you'll remember from a movie. Cruising is about like a cop that goes undercover in the gay S&M world and to find a serial killer who's whacking, gay people. I mean, it's actually compelling for a long time, but then it kind of loses its footing, and the ending never made any sense to me or most people that's ever seen it. But I'll always remember this because I saw it at a young age. First time I see a dude fisting another dude, I was like, ¿Qué? Me no comprende por qué. That must hurt.
Oh, John.
Boys will be boys.
And of course, one of his later pieces of work was the documentary The Devil and Father Amoth, which I have yet to see. I was going to see it after I saw The Pope's Exorcism, because Father Amoth was played by Russell Crowe. It's based on true story. That's when Mr. Friedkin recorded a real exorcism and then created a documentary around it. So it's still on my hit list to see. Ironically enough, not in a chipper way, Mr. Friedkin has his final film. It's going to premiere at the Venice Film Festival. And of course, he passed before attending. And the movie's called The Caine Mutiny Court Martial. So at least he left us with one more before,
Yeah. So
going on the other side.
We have a finale, basically, his last one. So yeah, I'd be curious to check it out. Because I think besides the documentary, Killer Joe was his last actual story movie. So
all the power to him. Like I said, I knew he was been sick for a bit. I didn't even know he was directing a new feature. I hope it's good. I hope it honors his legacy, you know, as it should. So
Yeah, his Black Star. So
all right, buddy. Well, I'm depressed. Guys and dolls, how about you let us know some of your favorite William Friedkin movies below? Yeah, a toast to you, sir. To all of you. We lost another great one.
Schmucks who call themselves judges sitting in a fucking room saying La Dolce Vita is not as good as Batman versus Superman. Fuck them and the horse they rode in on, and the ship that brought them over here, and the dog that walks behind them. Fuck them all!
Welcome to the end screen. Because we have our most popular videos up here, our latest videos over here, our modern reviews up here, and of course, the subscribe button right here, guys. Every little bit counts, and we do appreciate the support. That's kind of hot.